Hi, this is Jörg, which is German for George here at Find a Job in Germany. I was once asked on whether or not I could do another episode which is just related to CVs. And let me tell you people, I can do more than one episode that is just dedicated to CVs. So I'm going to be doing a couple of follow-ups after this because there's quite a few things that I want to keep on telling and emphasizing when it comes to really designing awesome CVs. So let's start with this one. Okay, first of all, there is quite a few questions which always revolve about everybody's individual situation, and I cannot really answer everyone's single problem or situation. In fact, I'm trying to maybe break this down a little differently. First of all, the most frequently asked question is, should it be a one-pager or should it be a two-pager? This is always a question of style and flavor and preference that you do not really know. Some people say that the classic, let's say Stanford CV, that's what that is called, that is a one-pager, only gives too shallow information away. It doesn't convey as much depth and content as some recruiters would like. And then there is recruiters that will totally fall for a one-page CV. But they won't neglect a two-pager either if the two-pager is good. Needless to say, and this is maybe the most important takeaway for some of you, you should never ever exceed 2 pages. There is no way that anybody's going to read up on that. And I know that this may only be the case applicable to somebody who's going to go back to university to work as a professor. Then they'll have all their publications listed somewhere on page 3. But for you, as a professional in tech and IT, make it a one-pager or a two-pager. We work with two-pagers at Find a Job in Germany, but the two-pager, and you need to understand this, is always going to be focusing on page 1. This is also where the similarity comes back into whether you want a one-pager or a two-pager. As long as the music's playing on page 1, and this brings me to another point I'm now going to raise, you're going to be fine. That point is that if you're already very experienced and you have, let's say, 15 years of experience already, or 10 to 15 years of experience, you may be facing a situation where it's not easy for you to cut things down and make it a two-pager. Needless to say, a one-pager. That's out of it. That's no option for you at all because it's really going to be hard for you to bring that all into one page. So how are you going to do that? For a two-pager, for somebody who has 10 to 15 years of experience, you want to really boil the projects down that you have done 5 to 10 years ago and make it more focused on the projects that you have done lately, ideally in the last 1 to 5 years. This brings me to another point. When you explain your projects, you want to make sure that when you put the period and the project, it already describes all there is to know. Sometimes I see CVs, and this is what I mean by that, where people will be putting down all the projects or the employers on page 1, and then they will later kind of disseminate them, or that's not the right word, they will kind of deep dive into these, zoom into these, so to speak, on page 2. And then they're expecting the reader to, directly follow and be able to connect the list of projects and employers with the project content, with the contributions, with the achievements, with the responsibilities on page 2. Don't do that. If I have to jump from page 1 to page 2 like that all the time, I'm going to go crazy. No. Coming back to my point I made earlier, you really want to connect those two right away, ideally in one overview next to each other. Period. That's the, let's say, time period from which you've worked on this project with this company. To the left-hand side and on the right-hand side, you want to then, of course, show your contributions, your achievements, your responsibilities, and what that project was about. This brings me to another question, which I also get very often. Is there a certain design or is there a certain format in which it should be? No, there is not. And if you like, you can also watch our video training where I explain in more depth and detail what the outline of a German CV is. But the message I'm always trying to really convey here is that just following that outline doesn't cut it. And I can only repeat myself here. You need to have made a decision. before you go about revamping your CV again. And that decision is based, what am I good at? What do I bring to the table? Or, let me put it maybe even a little more direct, what am I really truly awesome at? And what can nobody else beat me at? You really want to think about that. And you want to think about that maybe for a couple of days. It has to do with your lifetime experience. It has to do with you as a person. It has to do with your preferences, what you really like. It really has to do with your confidence, with what you're comfortable. My favorite example really is the full stack people. The full stack people who are saying, I'm a full stack by designation. But then when I really dig deeper, they will admit, oh, I'm really not so much of a front end. I really hate CSS. I heard this before. So you want to follow that. It doesn't make sense to label yourself as a full stack developer if your true passion lies in backend. You focus on Node, you focus on DevOps, you focus on cloud. That's where that comes in. Node, Docker, Kubernetes, AWS, Jenkins, and so on and so forth. But what I really wanted to say is, after you've thought about what you're really truly awesome at, where nobody else can beat you at, then you start revamping your CV. Coming back to design. There was really no design rule, and I said, follow the outline that you see in our video training, personal information, tech stack, work experience, education, and then you can, if you like, you can then close it off with some personal achievements, contributions, volunteering, hobbies, etc. But that's not really as important as the fact that you really have a concise outline. And this brings me to another aspect, which I'm probably also going to be focusing in one of the follow-up episodes, which we're going to have on CV design. If you decide you're going to have it in one font, stick to that font. Don't change to another font all of a sudden. And this happens because people keep revamping and redrafting and updating their CV over time, and they won't realize that all of a sudden they switch to a different font because at one point in time they used Arial, and then all of a sudden now they're using Calibri or something. That, of course, would be very easily visible, but you wouldn't believe how often that happens, and also how often it happens that people will automatically or by accident apply a different font size. And this is something that recruiters that are doing this on a daily basis notice right away. And it doesn't speak in your favor, to say the least. Or as I like to say, if they're seeing that you're not able to really do this diligently, they're going to be wondering, hey, is their code going to be just as sloppy as their CV? And seriously, this is me just quoting HR people that I have worked with in the past. And there is that kind of notion that when somebody doesn't deliver a nice, clean-looking CV, it will kind of fall back on them, people thinking, oh, wow, how is this person ever going to be able to code for us? This is going to be really terrible systems design. This is going to be really terrible in terms of code quality. They think like that. And I know the one thing doesn't have anything to do with the other, but then again, to a certain extent it does. It really is also about what you find important. Coming back to design and coming back to the whole issue of format, I really advise you to do the following. Go online and Google German CV format, design, something like that along those keywords. And then go check the pictures, go check the photos, go check the pic section in Google. That is going to show you a pretty nice, let's say, overview already of what kind of CVs are out there, what design there is. And another way to do that is Canva, for example. They also have some nice templates. What it really comes down to is, of course, that you dedicate yourself to this and then naturally work on it persistently, continuously. I am now going to be focusing on this in this episode. Next episode, I'm also going to talk a lot about probably how to portray yourself in the other parts of the CV. And for now, I thank you very much for your interest, but don't just subscribe to this channel, please, but also please watch our video training, which you find the link for right underneath this video. This is where I talk about our coaching program. This is where we explain how we work, how we've helped many tech and IT professionals, maybe like you already, find jobs in Germany in the past. And if you like, you can book a get-to-know call, get in touch with us, send us your CV. We'll then see whether or not we can work with each other and proceed accordingly. All the best from Germany. This is Joerg, which is German for George. Take care and bye-bye.